Alright, this video is going to show the raid rift battles in Vostokar Peak. People run these to get the best essences in the game, and there's also a weekly that you can pick up in Utila East. The weekly is to do the raid rifts twice. And we're just getting prepared here. Okay, there you can see the rift. You see the 4 large Legion transports. That's the beginning of the rift we call the egg. And make sure the tank starts this fight. I like to run around to the backside and just try to help the tank gather these 4 transports as quickly as possible. Save him some running. Now this fight's going to quickly spawn a lot of humanoid adds, and so there's going to be a large number of mobs here. The tank is, you can see, is taking a lot of damage, so the tank and the healers want to use cooldowns. Tank rarely goes down. The healer may not have been quite ready, but they're going to get the tank back up here. So you just want to AoE all these mobs down. I like to stand near the tank, of course, because the tank's always going to give you guard if you're close enough. Each of these rifts is going to have several stages. This one will culminate with the last boss, which is the Egg of Crucia. And we have first 2 phases are going to have basically trash mobs. Raid leaders will sometimes have the Archon throw flaring power and lava field, since this fight is very long and dangerous. This fight probably does as much raid-wide damage as any fight in this video, more than most. All right, first phase is down. Second phase is going to be just a lot of scattered trash mobs and the shield generators and ion cannons. So you basically have the tank pick up the humanoids. The DPS is going to take out the shield generators first, and then take out the ion cannons. And then finally, if the mechanics are still alive, take them out. All right, next we have the Liberator. It's going to be a single large robot, and we're going to basically tank and spank this guy until he gets down to some point around 20% health, maybe 25%. He's going to spawn another robot that's going to shield him. So it's basically whittle this guy down. When the other robot, there it goes, overdrive charge, can summon the other robot, and you switch to the little robot, kill it, and then just back to the boss. There he is, the portable shield generator. So at this point you can't do much damage to the boss, you're just hitting the shield generator. And back to the boss. So that was stage 3. Nothing real special there. He does do, you know, significant damage, so tanks and healers always have their hands full in these raids. And the next phase is going to be 4 lightning towers. Raid leaders will often call for flaring power and lava field. On this phase, just because the lightning towers have so much health, and this phase takes a while because we're hitting them one at a time. The towers, each tower will spawn magnetic mines, which you see there, and DPS should ignore those. And you're hoping that the tank will come around eventually and gather them and kite them, but basically they'll start, their red circles will blink and then they'll explode and they'll do damage and they'll push you back, but not very deadly. At this point, the tank, in order to get aggro on the mines, the tank actually has to taunt the towers themselves, not the mines. So drawing aggro on the tower actually gets you aggro on the mines. And as you can see, even with the whole raid hitting these towers, they take a while to kill. All right, here goes the last tower. And we'll get to the 5th and final stage after this, and that will be Crucia's Egg of Destruction. So the tank is going to grab the boss and just keep it here in the center. And at this point, you can't do much damage to the egg. You'll notice I have an alert top left above my character, says armor active. So with that armor active, the egg can really, you're doing insignificant damage to it while that armor's up. It's almost not even worth hitting him. But he's going to call these troopers. There are 2 shock troopers and 1 rocket trooper. You'll kill all the troopers, and when the rocket trooper dies, the person closest to the rocket trooper gets a reactive called armor piercing round. That person should immediately use that reactive on the egg, and that eliminates the shield. Then everybody attacks the egg until the shield comes back up. And once the shield is back up, you wait for more troopers. Now when the reactive is used, 2 things happen. One is the shield will drop, allowing the raid to damage the egg. The second is the egg will cast kinetic burst, and that's the mechanic that is likely to kill people. So when the troopers die, everyone should be getting out of that big red blinking bubble, which is the area that's affected by kinetic burst. You can set up alerts for kinetic burst, and raid leaders will often try to warn you at that point to get out. But the fact is, kinetic burst should always happen after the troopers die. So you know exactly when it's going to happen when they die, so get out. When kinetic burst finishes casting, the egg will do a massive AoE, which can one-shot most people. So the cycle is, wait for the troopers, kill the troopers, use the reactive, and then run out while damaging the boss until the shield goes back up. It usually takes 4 reactives to kill the egg. Now on the tank side, the tank will usually get out of the AoE. The fact is most tanks can stay in the AoE and not die, but if you do that, kinetic burst will do a large knockback that pushes you out of the circle anyway. And this delays you while you're flying through the air. So you don't want to eat this knockback because you're trying to get the egg back to the center as quickly as you can to put it in range of all the DPS around the circle. If you're tanking as a rogue, you might want to use your recall ability to return to the center. Other tanks have charge abilities that'll get them back quickly too. And I want to mention that the large blinking red circle persists throughout this fight after the first kinetic burst. But notice that the raid is running in and out of that area depending on whether or not kinetic burst is actively casting. So here we are running back in. Sorry, we're running back out. There's the burst, and we're running back in. And looks like he's going down. That is rift number 1. All right, next will be the Iron Legion lure. This rift is usually done second in the sequence. Initially, we're going to have this a lot of trash mobs, and so you'll want to bring them to the tank as best you can. This, what you're seeing here is we're kind of mixed in with a lot of other just open world mobs at the moment. But the Legion Mage and the Legion Mechanic are part of the rift. Most of these mobs are ranged, by the way, so they're hard to group. But anyway, not too tough. Next up is two bosses, the Steel Angel and the Iron Angel. This is another fight that does quite a bit of damage. Try to kill one at a time. They work together to make a large AoE that does a lot of damage. Typically, just heal through it. Lower health players might have problems, might need to stay out. Okay, next up is the Legionnaires. Notice some of them are unstable. The unstable ones will explode and do damage. Bring them all to the center for AoE. Low health players, again, should stay out of the crowd. These AoEs are not as large as the Angels, but if you get by multiple explosions, that could be dangerous. If you're ranged in this fight, you should look around the perimeter and find any loose Legionnaires that don't come in for the AoE, because that'll, if you bring them all into the center, it'll speed up the fight. Next up is Commander Samuel. This is a simple tank and spank. He doesn't really do much. He's got one attack called Cutting Laser, and that is usually interrupted by the tank. He'll also put bubbles on everybody, and they'll do some damage, but not very dangerous. All right, next up is GACAT. He is an acronym. His big attack is called Static Blast, and it does a cast and a channel. The cast can be interrupted by the Jetpack, which is a quest mount from Vostokar Peaks. If he does start channeling, he'll put his arms, which are guns, over his head like that, and then you're looking for a white circle on the ground. Notice the raid is running before the white circle appeared to me. So that's pretty typical. The white circle appears at different times to different people. So don't just look for the circle, also watch to see if the raid starts running in a direction and follow them. If you don't get in that white circle, you're probably all right. This is the third rift in the sequence we usually follow, and this one is Decay. You can see we're fighting a horde of undead. Some of them have blinking red circles. They will explode and do damage. If you get hit by multiple explosions, of course, that's dangerous. And the second wave is going to be Assassins and Magi. This one's pretty easy. The Assassins are melee, and the tank will try to pull them all together for AoE, and then you pick off the Magi as best you can. All right, next is stage 3. It's going to be one boss called the Buxian. Nothing really difficult here. He will summon 4 ads that'll come slowly towards him and buff him. And if they're unstable, they will also explode. All right, next is stage 4, which is Drosmar. And Drosmar does a mechanic called Ruin, which is one of the most likely places people will die. His Ruin spell puts a red bubble on a random character. At least it looks red there. You see it right there. There's a bubble coming. It's a 3-dimensional bubble coming up out of the ground. And to me it looks red. Some people say it looks green, green circle on the ground. Some people say it's blue. Anyway, he'll do that several times during the fight. He will also teleport to each of these 3 pillars, the source generators. When he teleports, he becomes immune. You have to kill the source generator and then switch back to Drosmar. And this is the last one. There's the alert for Ruin. You can see the bubble there in the background. Put it on somebody who's pretty far away. So last generator and finish off Drosmar. Okay, the 5th stage is the last stage, and this the boss is named Xerax. He does a frontal cone, which is called Decaying Breath. So basically, it's a tank and spank, and everybody just needs to stay out from in front of the boss except the tank. Once he puts down Decaying Breath, the tank can actually step out of it too. It's not going to move. But the tanks can absorb it pretty well. He will also do something called Soul Rip. He will randomly target, there goes Soul Rip. He'll randomly target someone and do a lot of damage to them, and the tank can intercept that. You also saw he put down a lot of red bubbles on the ground. They don't hurt as hard as the Ruin bubbles in the last stage, but it's good to pull him out of those red bubbles so people can fight him freely. And that's it. That's the 3rd rift, Decay. I'm going to show you where to turn in the quest, which is the same place that you pick up the daily quest for the raid rifts, and this is also where you pick up the weekly quest, which again is 2 series of rifts in a week. And there's the NPC, and that's the end of the video. Thank you.